I'd like to call the meeting to order this morning and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Inuit, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Brent McIntyre, and I'll be chairing the hearing this morning. To my left is Ian Mann, and to his left is Carrie Linklater. Our secretary today is Jason Robertson, and our assessor is Ryan Balderrama. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along in the City of Winnipeg's Border Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decisions by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1 through 8 on our docket today. Mr. Robertson, please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony. Thank you.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Ryan Balderrama.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name. Trevor Smith. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you very much. The first item on the docket today is 390 Carpathia Road, and either party, are there any preliminary issues on this?
I don't believe so.
None on my part, Mr. Chair.
None on your part? Okay, Ryan, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first property in the docket has a file number of 22-3831, 3831. The property has a roll number of 12-073-862-000. The property is located at 390 Carpathia Road. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023. Using reference date of April 1st, 2021. The assessed value for the property is $1,440,000. The property is classified as a residential 3 with a liability of taxable. Excuse me. The property is a commercial row house with 3 buildings, 1 to 2 stories. It has an actual year built of 1975, effective years built of 1975 to 1977. It has 12 suites with 18 outdoor parking. Property is zoned as residential multifamily. It has a land area of 43,575 square feet, a planned area of 7,332 square feet, basement area of 644 square feet, and a gross floor area of 14,408 square feet. On the next page are a couple of aerial photos of the subject property. And on page 4 is where the income valuation summary. Again, there are 12 units in the property. The average monthly rent per unit is $1,161.53. It has a gross potential rent of $167,260. Has a vacancy rate of 3.2%, or in terms of dollars, that's $5,352. Has effective gross income of $161,908. The expense ratio for this property is 56.86%, or $92,061, giving it a net operating income of $69,847. Applying the capitalization rate of 4.85%, the capitalized income is $1,440,144. On page 5 are some rent comparables. The first one is located at 39 Weatherstone Place. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,294. The next one is located at 85 Maple Ridge Avenue. The average monthly rent per unit is $1,391. The third one is located at 30 Baylor Avenue. Excuse me. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,230. And the last one is located at 806 Wolseley Avenue. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,188. And right below it on page 6 is the map of the subject property and the rent comparables. On the next page is the capitalization rates. For capitalization rates and capitalization rate evidence, I'm just going to read through them, and it will be applied to all properties that will be heard today, Mr. Chair. On page 7, the capitalization rates. A direct capitalization rate capitalization method is used to convert a property's single year of income into an indication of value by dividing the estimated net operating income by an appropriate capitalization rate. Capitalization rates can be derived from properties that have sold by dividing each property's net operating income by its sale price. For the 2023 general reassessment, using April 1st, 2021 as the reference date, the capitalization rates were derived from model-generated estimates of net operating income and sale prices that were time-adjusted to April 1st, 2021. The assessed values produced by the application of these model-generated capitalization rates were compared to sale prices, and assessment to sale price ratios were calculated. The resulting ratio statistics for assessment and taxation departments, or ATD, income producing models satisfy the standards specified and set forth in the Standard on Ratio Studies approved in April 2013 and as published by the International Association of Assessing Officers. ATD's capitalization rates are further supported by comparison with real estate market reports from Colliers International Canada, CBRE National Research, and Cushman and Wakefield. The following chart compares ATD's capitalization rates with the published rates by fitting ATD's rates into the property type categories used in these reports. ATD's property type classes are more comprehensive so that they cover every property type in the city. The 20th and 80th percentiles show the range of capitalization rates used by ATD for 60% of the parcels within the specific property type. In many cases, the published rates fall within 20th and 80th percentiles, indicating the tenability of the capitalization rates derived by ATD. So if we look further down, there's the multifamily section. All property types for multifamily has a range of 4.8 to 5.6%. And on the next page is page 8 is the capitalization rate evidence. The following is a sample of actual sales that took place during the reference period. The purpose for showing these individual capitalization rates is to illustrate the accuracy of the model and substantiate the model-derived capitalization rates. They're not meant to be comparable specific to the subject property. Net operating income has been developed through stabilizing owner-reported income and expense information. Capitalization rates have been derived by dividing the property's net operating income by its sale price. So the first one is located at 2390 McPhillips. It was sold on October 9th, 2020. It was sold for $19,400,000. It has 90 suites with a year built of 2015, which the sale price per suite is $215,556, and it has a cap rate of 4.79%. The second one is located at 700 St. Mary's. It was sold on April 7th, 2020. It was sold for $1,035,000. It has 9 suites, an actual and effective year built of 1961. It is the sale price per suite is $115,000, and the cap rate is 3.6%. The third one is located at 203 Bertrand. It was sold on June 14, 2019. The sale price was $925,000. There are 9 suites. The effective year built and the actual year built is 1963. The sale price per suite is $102,778, and the cap rate is 4.77%. The fourth one is located at 555 Corridon. It was sold on November 26, 2018. It was sold for $1,575,000. It has 16 suites. It has an effective year built of and an actual year built of 1955. The sale price per suite is $98,438. It has a cap rate of 5.74%. The next sale is located at 677 Maryland. It was sold on December 15, 2020. It was sold for $2.4 million. It has 32 suites. The actual year built is 1913, and the effective age is 1972. The sale price per suite is $75,000, and the cap rate is 5.5%. The last one is located at 32 Arden. It was sold on March 1st, 2019. Sold for $2,875,000. It has 23 suites. It was built in 1969 with an effective age of 1984. The sale price per suite is $125,000 and a cap rate is 5.05%. The next page, pages 9 till page 13. This is where the 2020 income and expense information for the subject property is. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Trevor, any questions?
I do have a few. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm looking at the cover page of your brief there, and it indicates that the owner is the Manitoba Housing and Renewal Corporation.
Yes, as per our records, yes.
Okay, so the city is aware then that this is a land lease to the Carpathia Housing Co-op, that they don't own the property outright?
I am unaware personally of the ownership or the leasing agreement between the city and the other party.
Okay, that's fair. Would the ownership status of the property have been taken into account in the model in the application of the capitalization rate, or would it be treated the same as all apartment properties?
This one, I believe, with the parcel use code of CMMRH, I believe the model has taken that into account.
it has taken the ownership into account because it's a row house?
That it is a row housing and that it is not treated like those high-rise or low-rise apartment blocks.
Okay, so it's treated as a row house, but with regard to the ownership, would the model have made any adjustment for the property not being owned by Carpathia?
I am not aware of that. No,
Okay.
I don't have that information.
Okay, just a couple of quick points, and all of my questions will carry forward for the second property, if that's all right with the panel.
That's fine.
Okay, so on page number 4, the income valuation. So the city's model has projected a gross potential rent of $167,260. And when I look at the income and expense form, the property actually generated $139,008. Can you explain the gulf between those two?
Again, these are market or model driven parameters, and the actual that was submitted. I'm not sure the discrepancies or the disparity between them, but
Okay.
this one is a model generated gross potential rent.
Okay, thank you. And then on page 5, just looking at the rental comparables. So the subject property has eight 2-bedroom units and 4 4-bedroom units. When I look at the comparables, number 1 has a greater percentage, significantly greater percentage of 3-bedroom units, so greater number. 24 2-bedrooms, 53 bedrooms, some 4s. The same would hold true of Maple Ridge, 6 2-bedrooms, 12 3-bedrooms, and then Wolseley is all 3-bedrooms. Would that not push the average rental rate higher versus a property that had generally a lower bedroom count?
I believe with this comparables, first, I mean, it's hard to really find a perfect comparable when it comes to comparing the subject property to the market. However, having said that, if we compare and we all of these bedroom units, we can see that the first 3 have bedrooms, and of course there are some 3-bedroom units, which basically pulls up the average. And
Right.
with regard to number 4, it's almost close to the subject property in terms of the average monthly rent. It's just the mix is so different. So I believe that the market supports the model derived average monthly rent per unit of $1,161.53.
Okay, and then just skipping forward to page number 7, the capitalization rate discussion there. So, pardon me, bear with me for just a moment. As you have read, for the 2023 general assessment, April 1, 2021 reference date, capitalization rates were derived from model-generated estimates of net operating income and sale prices that were time-adjusted to April 1, 2021. So in my reading of that, the model does not rely on the actuals of properties that transacted. It relies on model-generated estimates of income and time-adjusted sale price. So not actual capitalization rates, but projected capitalization rates. Is that accurate?
Well, there's it says there the model generated estimates of net operating income. However, the model also considered in estimating those net operating income, those actuals based on the actual income and expense information that were submitted to us by property owners and property managers.
Right. Okay, but I guess my point is that they are estimates. So say for instance, the subject property, we have a gulf in gross potential rent for this between 167,000 and 139,000. So properties such as that obviously would be included in the income or in the information that's taken in by the city and used for the model with discrepancies such as that.
It takes into account that one. However, it also takes into account what's in the market as well for similar properties such as row housing.
Okay. And page number 8, the capitalization rate evidence that the city has compiled. So this was done internally by another assessor, I believe.
It was done in our department. Yes, correct.
Okay, and none of these properties are townhomes or row houses, correct? They're all either towers or walk-up apartments. I
believe so. Without the information of the use code on these properties, I believe these are all apartment blocks.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie, any questions?
Yes, just a couple, Mr. Chair. Morning, Mr. Valderrama.
Morning.
I just want to confirm that your brief is all model driven.
The parameters that were used, they're all model driven on the income workup, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And to your page 8, I know Mr. Smith asked if any of these were row housing. My question is, are any of these, to the best of your knowledge, Manitoba housing properties?
I don't have that information with me, Mr. Chair, so I'm not sure on if there is or there is none, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question relates to the workup, the income workup on page 4. You've been talking about model-driven amounts. The expense rate of 56.86%, that's model-driven as well?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is model-driven.
And would the model take into account the type of construction and more specifically the nature of whether it's row housing or walk-up or whatever kind of multifamily building it might be? Or do you know?
I have no information with regard to how a model reacts to those parameters or characteristics of a property, Mr. Chair.
But are those parameters entered into the model?
I am not sure. I have no.
Okay, thank you. That's my questions.
Thank you. And I have no questions. So Trevor, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, the capitalization rates shown on page number 8 of the city's brief, we've investigated them, and they are all market transactions. None of them are row houses or nonprofits, and or Manitoba housing. And they are all either walk-ups or towers. So that is just to give you the background on those. We can move into my report. So the subject property, 390 Carpathia Road, and our following property, 400 Carpathia Road, is the Carpathia Housing Co-op. So it is a cooperative housing entity. It was, and speaking for both properties here, it is a land lease. The way that these housing cooperatives were typically developed, not in every case, but most cases, was the land was provided to them on a long-term lease basis by either, in some cases, the city of Winnipeg, or in this case, Manitoba Housing and Renewal Corporation, where the housing cooperative develops the property, operates it, maintains it, pays the taxes, etc., for the period of their long-term lease, but they don't outright own the property. They don't have the same rights as a true owner of the property, which we'll get into in the brief. But basically, they can't sell the property and profit from it as you would if you were a normal fee simple owner of real estate. They are simply the lessee of the property. Just to touch on some items up front before we delve into the property itself. We are dealing with townhomes here, row housing, and in the marketplace from an investor perspective, these are less desirable than your standard walk-up apartments or towers from a number of perspectives. What you'll find in the market is that there basically are no sales of these. They transact very rarely. There's not a lot of demand for them, and you don't see a lot of them being constructed either, with very rare exceptions. So reasons for them being less desirable, if you look at your amount of land that they sit on, you have significantly less density. So if you look at a walk-up apartment, or even more so a tower, you can have much greater number of units on the same amount of land versus building them out as a row house, for obvious reasons. As you go vertical, you have a much greater density of units that you can rent out, and your return will be that much greater because you have more units to rent. So that's certainly one reason. Second reason, you have much greater, you often have, you typically have greater expenses for these row houses for a number of reasons. Each of them is an individual unit. So you have much greater roof area for the complex as a whole. So let's say you had 32 row houses all in a row. You have much greater roof area than you would have if you had a 32 unit, 3-story walk-up apartment block. So that all has to be maintained. To go with that, you have all the individual systems within each unit. So each of them has a water heater, each of them has a furnace, etc. All of these require maintenance and replacement, etc. So there are much greater costs in that regard. And then from a land perspective, typically you're sitting on greater amount of land that all has to be maintained as well. So you have to maintain the yard, snow clearing, parking lots, etc. So those contribute to townhomes being less desirable in the market, and you really don't see a lot of either construction of them new or sales of the old ones. So that is my set up for the property, I guess. We can delve into 390 Carpathia Road. So again, this is Carpathia Housing Co-op. If you flip to my page number 3, you can see some background for the property. We are looking at 2023 assessment of $1,440,000. This is a significant jump from the 2020 assessment, which was reduced to $997,000 at Board of Revision on my appeal in the last cycle. As noted, property is leasehold estate for the housing co-op. We do not own the property. They're the lessee from Manitoba Housing and Renewal Corp. We'll get into that in a bit. Was built in 1975-76, and we have a total of 12 units, 8 2-bedrooms, 4 4-bedrooms, for a total of 12 units. And as a housing co-op, obviously it operates on a non-profit basis. We can get into the photographs of the property. Basically, it is original to the date of construction. Very little upgrading has been done to these units. Only when only when things are essentially broken or worn out to such a great extent that they can't be maintained, or is anything replaced. So you don't see kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations, flooring, etc., until absolutely necessary. And you can see that from the photos. So if you look at the interiors, you can see the flooring on page 7. Obviously, unfinished basements on 7 as well. Bathroom being pretty standard, as well as the kitchen. That particular one looked like it had been upgraded slightly, but you get the general idea of the improvements. So having toured the property, there has been very little upgrading of it. And this goes for 400 Carpathia as well. The site is shown on my page number 10. You can see the layout of it there. Fronting on Carpathia, and the location on page number 11. We can move forward from there into my page number 12. So what I've done here is present the description of property rights. So again, property is a leasehold estate. Carpathia Housing Co-op being the tenant, the lessee, with MHRC holding the property that it sits on a long-term lease. As a lessee, they don't have the full fee simple rights. The full fee simple rights are your complete bundled rights, which include the right to sell an interest, the right to lease an interest, the right to occupy the property, the right to mortgage an interest, and the right to transfer an interest. So all of that essentially comes down, for our purposes, to the fact that Carpathia Housing Co-op cannot sell their property, and at the end of their lease, they either have to renew with MHRC, if that is MHRC's wish, or the property would revert to ownership by MHRC at that point. So there is no long-term capital value to Carpathia Housing Co-op itself. Current ownership is shown at the bottom of page 12, and that goes for both properties today. We can skip forward now into the valuation itself. So the rental structure for the property is shown on page number 13 as of the valuation date. So the 2 beds are at $921 and the 4 beds at $1,054. And this produces an annual rent at 100% occupancy of $139,008. We can skip forward here to our comparables on page number 14. And if you look at the 2 beds, we range from a low of $705, $718, up to a high of $1,220 per square foot, with the majority of them being under $1,000. Some being slightly over, obviously. The 1220 is a row housing development that backs onto a pond, a lake essentially, and they have private driveways and garages. It's essentially a home more so than a row house. And the 2 beds there rent for $1,220. 4 beds shown on the right-hand side. There's not a lot of them in the market, obviously. So we range from $902 up to $1,280 for the 4 bedrooms. The 3 bedrooms shown in the middle. Subject property certainly falls within those ranges. And we skip forward. Again, discussions with Residential Tenancies Branch indicate to me that if theoretically the property were to trade on the open market, the tenancies that are in place have the right to remain in place at the lease terms that are already struck on a go-forward basis. So you could not buy the property and immediately change the rental rates and increase your return. So the rents are what they are, comes to $139,008. There was a bit of parking income as well, which we've added to our evaluation. Obviously, there's no laundry income, it being a townhouse. We move forward from there into the expenses on page number 16. We've used a vacancy rate of 2% in our analysis. Bear with me. Sure that's accurate. Yep, I've used a 2% vacancy rate for the subject property. The actual expenses, I've done a 3-year stabilization, as you can see from the chart on the bottom of page 16, running through 2020. So these are the actuals. From those, I've removed any expenses that are non-standard for normal apartment blocks, and I've made adjustments where appropriate, such as to the property management, making it 5% of effective gross, virtually the same as what the actual was. We've reduced the office supplies based on knowledge of other properties, and the repair and maintenance has been applied at $1,500 per suite. Now, for the subject property, in the condition that it's in, I would say that is probably well under what could be spent on the properties from a repair and maintenance standard. So $1,500 is certainly a conservative estimate. It's obviously above what has been spent in the prior 3 years, but believe me, it is in need of a minimum of that amount, certainly, that being a relative standard in the marketplace. So our stabilized expenses come to $86,429. And we can skip forward to capitalization rate. First point to consider, as I've already discussed, the lessee does not own the property, and they do not have the right to trade it on the marketplace. So that certainly has an impact. If we look at my page number 17, we have a bit of text with regard to social and affordable housing as well. These properties can't be directly apples to apples compared to market transactions, as they're not the same. If we look at the market, we really don't see any transactions of social or affordable housing on the marketplace. So there are no capitalization rates to rely on. And again, typically, if there were sales, they would potentially be based on subsidized housing. So the cap rate would not be fair. Not the case for the subject is not subsidized. Looking at again my page 17. Social and affordable housing cannot legitimately be compared directly to standard market apartment transactions, as social housing properties have considerable restrictions and burdens that are not present for market apartments. These being rental income restrictions, in many cases, rental market restrictions, that being a smaller pool of potential tenants, additional operating expenses as discussed, physical condition as shown, and disposition restrictions as I've discussed here as well. There's an expert in the field, Mr. Richard Polton. He's an accredited commercial appraiser in the United States and has written a book on this particular issue titled Valuation and Market Studies for Affordable Housing. Again, it's the theory that matters, not the jurisdiction. So it doesn't matter that he's from the United States. And he states, developing a market-derived cap rate for an income-restricted property begins with an analysis of the available rates for similar unrestricted properties. Then these rates are adjusted based on the risk factors that an investor would consider in developing a cap rate. The result is a cap rate based on market factors and associated risks. In the final analysis, property tax assessment must take into account the public purpose of the project, the overall benefits and burdens, and the restricted nature of the operating rents. So all that being said, we cannot directly compare market capitalization rates to social and affordable housing without making the appropriate adjustments to those capitalization rates. So let's look at the market for capitalization rates. On page 17, we've given you 15 transactions in the relevant time frame between 2018 and 2020. All of these are market transactions. None of them are row housing, as we've really seen no trades in that particular market segment. They vary in age, size, location, etc. But there are some trends to glean here. Essentially, if we look at the peak of the market, that being newly built properties that have transacted where there is no potential to increase the rent, you're essentially getting a blue chip property. We have 3 of those properties in this particular chart. Sale number 3, 2390 McPhillips. This is the Lady Joyce apartment, newly built in 2015, total of 90 units, sold in 2020 at a cap rate of 5%. Second one, sale number 5, 703 St. Anne's. This is a development backing onto the Seine River, south of Bishop Grandin, built in 2020, 34 units, sold in 2021 at a cap rate of 5.3%. And those are luxury units as well, as is 2390 McPhillips. And finally, number 6, 100 Southview. I'll correct myself slightly. These are townhomes. It's the Lumen development in Bridgewater in southwest Winnipeg. They're essentially homes. You have private driveways, yards, internal garages, etc. They're beautifully done, rather large. Built in 2015, sold in 2021 at a cap rate of 4.95%. So we have 5%, 5.3%, and 4.95%. All of them pointing towards 5% being the very low end of the market for your blue chip properties. Outside of that, properties do transact for under 5%. These almost exclusively are properties that are purchased for their redevelopment. So they are not true capitalization rates where the property is purchased for the in-place income, and the cap rate based upon that, they're purchased by the developers to renovate the units, boost the income, and increase their return. So the actual amount paid is not based on the income and expense that the property had at the time of sale. So they're essentially outside the bounds of what should be considered for capitalization rates. And this is held true by both assessment theory as well as appraisal theory. So none of those are included in here. So the low end of the market being 5%. We look at our cap rate chart, we have roughly 5.25% to call it 5.75% being the main range of what we're looking at, the low being 4.95 and the high being 7.5%, but the bulk of the properties fall in that 5.25 to 5.75%. Now, let's look at the subject property in comparison to that. We have property that is not owned by the occupant, by the lessee. They have no ability to trade it. If you look at the property type, we have row houses, which are obviously lesser lesser demand. The one thing I forgot to mention about row houses is typically they have greater unit counts of higher bedroom units, so 3 and 4 bedrooms versus 1 and 2 bedrooms. This is typically of lesser demand on the marketplace as well, which can lead to obviously greater vacancy. And the condition of the property, obviously substandard based on the photos that you can see in my inspection of the property. It falls below certainly average for the marketplace. There'd be a considerable amount of money to be spent on the property for a normal market situation. And that you take all of those issues as well as the nonprofit issues that I've discussed, put it side by side with a standard market apartment that's identical, so same row house but owned outright by the owner, there would be a premium to be paid by any potential purchaser. So our typical range being that 5.25% to 5.75% roughly, 5 to 6% on a broader scale, is supported by both Colliers and CB Richard Ellis. If you look at my pages 18 and 19, I've given you kind of a three-year coverage of the capitalization rate publications by these two entities. And you can see for Colliers, obviously there's no row housing category. They just show low and high rise. But if you look at the Colliers information, they're indicating low rise apartments between 5.25% and 6% in 2016 and 5 and 6% in 2018 and 2020. So mirroring what we presented in our cap rate report, or cap rate study rather. CB Richard Ellis, very much the same. 2016 indicating low rises between 5.5% up to 6% for low rise A and Bs with some variation there. Identical for 2018, and then 2020 being shown on page number 20, they're indicating 5.25% to 6%. So matching the cap rate study that we presented to you. So on the open market, what would a fair capitalization rate be for this property? We've gone to the high end of that range at 6%, and this is certainly a conservative figure. We could certainly be above 6%. Oh, I'm sorry. I have made an adjustment for this particular one based on the size, I believe, it being only 12 units. So typically, as we'll see in the next property, we would be higher at 6%. Given the size of this one, I've used a cap rate of 5.5% in our valuation. So this information is summarized on page 22, and you can see it in comparison to the City of Winnipeg's 2023 assessment, which is to the right of it, and the 2020 assessment, which is to the right of that. So the summary is there for you. Rental income, 2% vacancy rate, the expense allowance coming to $86,000, and the cap rate at 5.5% gives us a market value of $919,000. Now, one thing I didn't point out, the expense allowance. So this is somewhat misleading when you look at the percentages. If you look at the actual expense allowance that I have stabilized here at $86,429. It is over $6,000 or roughly $6,000 lower than what the city has projected. Yet the expense allowance percentage obviously is different because of the income that the property generates, which is supported by the evidence I've presented. So our final market value is $919,000. The addenda materials include the income and expense for the subject property, as well as the decision from the last cycle, which was based on our valuation and a cap rate of 5.75%. And that is my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Ryan, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. For the income on page 22, these are all actuals, correct?
These are the actuals, yes.
And these are actual, and for vacancy, is there an actual vacancy on this one, on this property? Is it suffering from any vacancies?
They haven't indicated a specific vacancy. It's not really something that they track. However, obviously, as with all multifamily properties, they do have move-ins and move-outs and vacancies that occur. They simply don't have a tracking of that particular figure. But what we projected is the 100% occupancy.
Okay,
And
so
you have to
that's
account for.
sorry.
I say you have to account for a minimal amount of vacancy in doing evaluation.
So just to clarify, the effective gross income is based on actual revenue and market vacancy rate, correct? Based on the analysis in the evidence?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And for expenses, you used actuals on all of them?
We did a 3-year stabilization. If you look at page 16, you can see that we had the expense statements for 2018 through 2020, which we've itemized there. And then we've done a stabilization for the valuation date and made appropriate adjustments as indicated.
Okay, so specifically R&M, so the 1,500 per suite is just an estimate.
Well, 1,500 per suite is it's a professional estimate based on knowledge of multifamily market in general and the condition of this particular property. As I mentioned, 1,500 would be a conservative estimate.
So it is a conservative estimate based on the market, correct? I heard you say it's the market, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carrie, any questions?
Just one question. Mr. Smith, I just want to clarify that you did indeed inspect the property. You took the pictures.
Yes.
Thank you. That is all my questions,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
Ian.
Just going back to your page 16, on a couple of occasions, you've indicated that the 2021 stabilized R&M is what they could spend easily on the suites. Have they spent that on the suites up to the assessment date?
Well, if we look at, and I only have 3 years here, so I fortunately didn't put in, say, the prior 3 years, so there's always some variability, but you can see that it does vary between a low of 5,000 up to 12,200. So no, they had not specifically spent that amount on R&M, but as evidenced by the photos in my inspection, it shows in the units when you go through it. If you look at the flooring and the kitchens and the interiors, exterior, there is a significant amount of money to be spent there.
Because the average of those 3 years is $8,603.
Oh, absolutely. They are underspending on repair and maintenance without doubt.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just an observation that I've made at many hearings, we don't consider assessments.
No, and neither do I. I'm simply pointing out a board decision on the property.
I'm just saying it for the record. Okay, that concludes this property. The next one is 400 Arpatia Road. Any preliminary issues, either party on this?
I do not.
I do not have none on my side. Thank you.
Okay, you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next property has a file number of 22-3830, 3830. The property has the roll number of 1207-386-3000 or 3000. It is located at 400 Carpathia Road. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023. Using reference date of April 1st, 2021, the assessed value is $13,699,000. The property is classified as a residential 3 with a taxable liability. The property is a commercial row house with 6 buildings, 2 stories, an actual and effective year built of 1975. It has 140 suites, 170 outdoor parking. It is zoned as a residential multifamily with a land area of 489,162 square feet. It has a planned area of 73,486 square feet and a gross floor area of 146,972 square feet. On page 2 are a couple of aerial photos of the subject property. And on page 4 is where the income valuation summary. Again, the property has 140 units. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,073.93. The gross potential rent for the property is $1,804,202. It has a vacancy rate of 3.2%. or $57,734. The effective gross income is $1,746,468. The expense ratio is 56.86%, which translates to $993,042. The net operating income is $753,426. Applying the 5.5% cap, the capitalization income or capitalized income is $13,698,655 or $13,699,000. On page 5 are some rent comparables. The first one is located at 30 Baylor Avenue. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,230. The second one is located at 916 Renfrew Avenue. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,516. The third rent comparable is located at 85 Maple Ridge Avenue. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,391. And the last one is located at 70 Baylor Avenue. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,175. On the next page is the map of the subject property and the comparable rents. On page 7 is the capitalization rates. On page 8 is the capitalization rate evidence. And on page 9, page 13 is the 2020 income and expense mailer submitted to us. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Trevor, any questions?
Just two, really. Again, looking at page 4, so the city has projected a gross potential rent of $1,804,000 rounded. And when I look at the I&E, the 100% occupancy figure for gross potential rent is $1,636,000 rounded. Would that not suggest the city's model is projecting a higher rent than is applicable?
As indicated earlier, this was based on market evidence, based on the income and expense mailers that were submitted to our department, and that it is a model generated gross potential rent. With regard to the actuals, this is a co-op, a housing co-op, so we're not sure if there are any discounts or any subsidies that were included in the actuals. So without any further information on that one, I wouldn't be able to conclude any of that.
Okay, just to that end then, page number 9, the income and expense form. So there are no subsidies or discounts, et cetera, indicated on the income and expense form, correct?
None, or even any conditions on rent geared
Okay.
to geared to income. So it doesn't indicate in this income and expense report.
The page number 5, the market comparables that are presented here. So when I look at the gross floor area, with one exception, which is still bigger, the three of the comparables are significantly greater floor area per unit, so greater living area per unit. This would obviously push the average rental rate up significantly, would it not?
I'm not sure. I may not be able to conclude that because rent comparable 3 has 1,169 square feet gross floor area, and yet it is middle of the pack, I would say, among the 4 comparables here. So it's difficult to determine that.
Those are all of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie, any questions?
I have no
And Ian?
Just one question with respect to a bit of a follow-up on the actuals that have been submitted and the modeling. Does the model take into account, or is there a parameter in the model with respect to, if not subsidized housing, reduced rents for cooperative housing?
I have no information or knowledge on that one, Mr. Chair. So I'm not sure if there are or if there aren't.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you. My question is on 390 Carpathia, the cap rate was 4.85%. And on 400 Carpathia, it's 5.5%. Both leased by the Carpathia Co-op, both built in the same year. Can you explain the difference?
The knowledge that I have with regard to capitalization rate and how the model reacts to it or assigns capitalization rate mainly is based on size, age, location, and how the model actually assigns certain numbers or certain capitalization rates on different properties. I'm not sure how. However, those are the parameters that the model is considering. So looking at that, most likely it may have to go with the size, I believe. Say.
But certainly there are identical buildings in the same location, other than the size.
Yes, it looks like, yes, that's correct. Other than the size.
So then there's a 0.65 adjustment to the cap rate on 390 because of its smaller size.
I am not sure if it's mainly on size alone. But again, those 3 parameters that I've mentioned, location, size, and age, they are just 3 of what I know. There could be some others that I may not be aware of.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. And Trevor, you can proceed.
Mr. Chair, before we start, can I just have 2 minutes?
Sure. Well, 5-minute recess.
For sure.
We will reconvene the hearing this morning, and Trevor, you're up for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So 400 Carpathia Road, this is the sister property, or essentially the same property of Carpathia Housing Co-op. Identical conditions. It is owned outright by Manitoba Housing and Renewal Corporation, and Carpathia Housing Co-op is the lessee on a long-term land lease. Exact same conditions as the prior one. Just to speak briefly to the capitalization rate, really what we should be looking at here is the entity as a whole. This is a quirk of the assessment system. For some reason, I'm going to suggest to the organization that they apply to merge the two roll numbers. There's really no difference between 390 and 400. There's no reason for it to be separated out other than it was originally for some reason. So that would address the capitalization rate issue that you see. I accounted for it being smaller in the cap rate that I applied for that, and you'll see that I'm slightly higher in this, when in reality, it's all one development. So let's move forward with 400 Carpathia. Again, exact same conditions, long-term land lease. The housing cooperative does not control the property in that they don't have any ability to sell it on the open market. So this is all theoretical in nature. I do have a correction to the unit counts from what the city had on their brief. As you'll see in the income and expense form, there are, this is on my page number 3, there are 46 2-bedroom units, 82 3-bedroom units, 8 4-bedroom units, and 4 5-bedroom units. And yet when you look at, and please keep this in mind when we're looking at the rental rates that are applied to it, when we look at the gross floor area per unit, it's 1,050 square feet. And yet we have 82 3-bedroom units, 8 4-bedroom units, and 4 5-bedroom units. Now, this speaks to the size of the units themselves. I've been in them. They are very small in relation to the number of bedrooms that they have. They're very petite. Hopefully that shows up in the photos of the bedrooms that we have in presentation here. But 1,050 square feet on average is not a lot for living area for typically 3, 4, and 5-bedroom units, obviously. Let's move forward into the presentation. Page number 3, 2023 assessment of $13,699,000, up from the reduced $11,667,000 in the 2020 assessment. Obviously, properties owned by MHRC, leased by Carpathia Housing Co-op, built at the same time in 1975, and it sits on 11.2 acres with a total of 140 units. Let's move into the presentation. So page number 4 begins the photos. You can see some of the exteriors and the conditions of such, the site plan. And then we get into the interiors, and you can, again, get a good sense of what the finishes are, and what the sizes of the various spaces are. So there's your typical kitchen at the top of page number 7. As you can see, quite small, obviously. Living room at the bottom of page 7, quite small with the tile flooring, as you can see. And then just another exterior at the end, indicating that the windows are still wood frame and in need of repair, obviously. Further description on page 9. Feel free to go through that. I think the photos and my description speak for themselves. Essentially, the site is shown on page number 10 and the location on page number 11. All of my commentary from the last property holds true for this one with regards to the rights that the lessee has. They are not the fee simple owner. They don't have the right to trade the property, to lease it, etc. All they have is the right to occupy the property for the term of the lease, and at the expiry of the lease, there's no automatic renewal. At that point, it's up to MHRC if they proceed forward or not. Not that they necessarily wouldn't, but there is that element of uncertainty at that point as well. So from that perspective, again, as a theoretical purchaser of the property, if you were to theoretically take over the lease of MHRC or the lease of Carpathia Housing Co-op, at the end of that term, again, you don't own the property, and MHRC could decide to go in a different direction and take the property back at that point. Let's move forward into the analysis beginning on page 14. Again, we presented the monthly rents in a chart in the middle of page 14. You can see what they are as indicated there. Again, please keep in mind these are in below average condition, certainly, and typically somewhat below that. And the units themselves are quite small. So, and the property is intended to provide affordable housing on the marketplace. So the rents are at market, but they are representative of what you're actually leasing, and again, intended for affordability as well. So let's compare it to the marketplace again. We have the same rental chart at the bottom of page 15. You can see the rental rates there. 2 bedrooms, an average of $951, subjects at $921. 3 bedrooms, $989 for the subject, with an average of $1,010 for the 3 bedrooms. Obviously, there's ranges within this. 2 bedrooms at $718 at the low, up to $1,220 as indicated for the premier one on Lakeside, generally in that well below that. And then finally, 4 bedrooms on the right-hand side, ranging from $900 to $1,280, with an average of $1,138. So that is the marketplace. The subject certainly generally falls within those ranges. It is supported by the market evidence, so we believe that the rates that they're charging are both representative of the condition, the size, and the affordability factor as well. So the gross rental income comes to $1,636,704, to which we've added the parking income. We have again applied a lower vacancy rate of 2% to the subject property. As you can see on page number 17 in the expenses, we have the CMHC stats there for you to review as well if you wish. And we have done, again, a 3-year stabilization of the actual expenses for the subject property on page number 17. The 3-year history is shown there for you, the stabilization following that in the second column from the right, and the notes as to any adjustments that were required. So similar to the other one, we have adjusted the management fee to 5% of effective gross income, which comes to just over $80,000, virtually mirroring what was charged in the 2020 year. We have reduced, obviously, the office supplies to a normalized amount for a property of this size. And we have again adjusted the repair and maintenance to reflect $1,500 per suite. Now, we look at what was spent. Obviously, it can vary, and it is below that. They do come up to $142,000 in the one particular year. But as indicated, and you can see from the photos, they are significantly underspending on the repair and maintenance for the property. So to use their actuals would be to underestimate what a normalized situation would be. So we're not looking to inflate, we're merely putting them at what market would be. So the stabilized expenses come to $996,565, reflecting standard market expenses. let's move on to capitalization rate. So again, I've covered this extensively. I won't go through my discussion again. All of the information is the same. Our typical range is 5 to 6%, or narrower, 5.25% to 5.75%. Typically, this is supported by the main commercial brokerages, indicating ranges of, in CBRE's case, 5.5 to 6% for low rises, and for Colliers, indicating 5 to 6%. So virtually mirroring what we've indicated. For all of the reasons I've stated for the prior property, they hold true for the larger one that we're dealing with here. And we have applied the upper end of the range at 6%, or a slight premium to the upper end of the range at 6%. Could we have used a higher cap rate? We could, but in my estimation, that would probably underestimate the value of the property overall. So we have used a cap rate of 6%. This is summarized on page number 23, where you can see our valuation versus the city's 2023 and 2020 models. And you can see that our final market value comes to $10,265,000. If you look at the city's valuation model, they have jumped their cap rate from 5% in 2020 to 5.5% in 2023 to reflect the property. So our final market value, $10,265,000. The addenda include the income and expense, as well as the decision from the last cycle based on our presentation. And I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ryan, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's just the same questions. I just have one new question, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Is there any information with regard to how rents are, in terms of are they rent geared to income, or maybe subsidized as
yes,
or maybe there's an arrangement?
No, so it's not rent geared to income, and it's not subsidized. If you look at the income and expense form, you can see that there are no subsidies granted. They would indicate if it's rent geared to income. It's not. They set the co-op rates at what they believe to be market level at an affordable structure, based on, again, the size of the units and condition of the units. So it's representative of what it would achieve on the open market, and it's not rent geared to income.
And that's all the questions I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Carrie, any questions?
So Manitoba Housing.
No. I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt. MHRC owns the land, but
right.
The co-op
So
itself
the co-op
is the operator and developer of the property.
Right. Sorry. So, okay. I was just surprised that it is not rented in regards to income.
Yes, it's not. They set the co-op itself sets the rental rates for the units, and they're on the structure that's indicated there.
Has Manitoba Housing been involved in this project since it was built in 1971?
No, they have not, to my knowledge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all.
Thank you. Ian?
I'm just looking at the page 23, the income approach, the estimate value by the income approach, and looking at the expenses again, and the expense allowance of $996,565, as you explained, was calculated back on page 17. It is. And again, the R&M, you've got an average, a market average of $1,500 per suite, $210,000 total. Correct. And that's a prospective amount. That amount isn't actually that amount wasn't actually spent on the suites.
No, that amount wasn't spent on the suites. Just to, I guess, to speak to that very briefly. So the purpose of the stabilization is to bring the property to take out any non real estate expenses if there were any included, and to normalize it, essentially bring it to a market norm if there's any outliers where they have way too much in one category or way too little in another. Right. And in the subject properties case, the stabilizations we've done is we've taken out a significant amount of office supply expense. Is there a co-op? You're not going to see that in normal situation. We brought it down to what a norm would be. We've adjusted the property management to 5% of EGI, which actually reflected what 2020 was for them, although it was higher in prior years. And in the R&M expense, as you can see, they ranged from 60 to 142,000. But when you visit the property and look at the photos and listen to my discussion of it, it's significantly underspent in terms of repair and maintenance. You can see that quite clearly. So the 1,500 per suite is not picked out of the air. It's experience from other multifamily properties, looking at vast number of these, and a market norm is $1,500. And certainly in a townhome situation, you would not be on the low end. You would be probably higher than that. So 1,500 is a conservative estimate.
And has this property deteriorated significantly in either its upkeep or its maintenance from the last cycle to this cycle?
Not especially, no. It's not that they don't maintain the property; they do maintain it. They just don't. We don't replace floors typically, right? So we're looking at original cabinetry and flooring and things of that nature that go beyond what a normal market apartment owner might maintain those for, right? So they're not. That's essentially their model, which is why you see the low R&M spend.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
And I have nothing further, and that concludes this property. Trevor, you're free to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Drive carefully out there.
Brief recess to get the other applicant back online.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Does not.
Thank you. We'll reconvene the hearing this morning. The next property on the docket is 693 David Street. And are there any preliminary issues?
Mr. Chair, I'm not requesting or pursuing the request on the recommendation page 1.
Okay, so let us get there. So you're requesting.
I'm not.
Pardon me?
I'm not pursuing it, Mr. Chair.
Oh,
sorry.
you're not pursuing it?
Okay.
No.
Okay. Henry, any issues on your part?
No preliminary issues.
No
I
issues.
I should probably be sworn in.
Yes, I was just going to do that. I have a note here.
Okay.
Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Henry Dupont.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Ryan, you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. The next property has a file number of 22-1060. Excuse me. It has a roll number of 0721894500. It is located at 693 David Street. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023 using reference date of April 1st, 2021. The property has split assessment. The first assessment has an assessed value of $456,000. It is classified as residential 1 with the liability of grant. The next assessment has an assessed value of $1,140,000. and it is classified as a residential 2 with the liability of grant. The property is a commercial row house with 3 buildings, 2 stories, and an actual and effective year built of 1971. It has 14 suites, 14 outdoor parking. It is zoned as a residential multi-family with a land area of 36,584 square feet, a planned area of 7,672 square feet, and a gross floor area of 15,344 square feet. On page 2 are a couple of aerial photos for the subject property. And on page 4 is the income valuation summary. The property has 14 units with an average monthly rent per unit of $1,126.33. Again, there's a split assessment on this one. The first assessment for the income valuation summary has a class and liability of residential 1 or grantable with a gross potential rent of $54,064. It has a vacancy rate of 3.2%, which is $1,730. It has an effective gross income of $52,334, an expense ratio of 56.86%, which translates to $29,757, giving it a net operating income of $22,577. The capitalization rate for this is 4.95%, and the capitalized income is $456,101. The second assessment has an income valuation of as follows. The gross potential rent is $135,160, has a vacancy rate of 3.2% or $4,325. The effective gross income is $130,835, has an expense rate or ratio of 56.86% or $74,393. It has a net operating income of $56,442, applying the capitalization rate of 4.95%. The capitalized income is $1,140,242. Next page I do have 4 rent comparables. The first one is located at 916 Renfrew Bay. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,516.
I dispute the cap rate only, Ryan. I don't know if you want to skip that.
Oh, okay. Sure. Just to facilitate faster. Okay. I do have the map, property, and the comparable rents on page 6. On page 7, I do have the capitalization rates. Mr. Chair, would you want me to go over this again, or it's the same one anyway?
Henry, do you want him to go over this again? I think
I went over this earlier. Yeah.
I never heard it though. So please go over it again.
So we'll go over it again just for this property.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll do that. Again, the capitalization rates on page 7. I'll go over it, and it will be applied to the rest of the properties with Mr. DuPont. A direct capitalization method is used to convert a property's single year of income into an indication of value by dividing the estimated net operating income by an appropriate capitalization rate. Capitalization rates can be derived from properties that have sold by dividing each property's net operating income by its sale price. For the 2023 general reassessment, using April 1st, 2021 as a reference date, capitalization rates were derived from model-generated estimates of net operating income and sale prices that were time-adjusted to April 1st, 2021. The assessed values produced by the application of these model-generated capitalization rates were compared to sale prices, and assessment-to-sale ratios were calculated. The resulting ratio statistics for the Assessment and Taxation Department, or ATD's, income-producing models satisfy the standards specified and set forth in the Standard on Ratio Studies, published by the International Association of Assessing Officers. The ATD's capitalization rates are further supported by comparison with real estate market reports from Colliers International Canada, CBRE National Research, and Cushman & Wakefield. The following chart compares ATD's capitalization rates with the published rates by fitting ATD's rates into the property type categories used in these reports. ATD's property type classes are more comprehensive so that they cover every property type in the city. The 20th and 80th percentiles show the range of capitalization rates used by ATD for 60% of the parcels within the specific property type. In many cases, the published rates fall within 20th and 80th percentiles, indicating the tenability of the capitalization rates derived by ATD. So if we look further down, the multifamily in there, all property types fall within 4.8 to 5.6% for cap rates. And on page 8 is the capitalization rate evidence. The following is a sample of actual sales that took place during the reference period. The purpose for showing these individual capitalization rates is to illustrate the accuracy of the model and substantiate the model-derived capitalization rates. They are not meant to be comparables specific to the subject property. Net operating income has been developed through stabilizing owner-reported income and expense information. Capitalization rates have been derived by dividing the property's net operating income by its sale price. So the first one is located at 2390 McPhillips. It was sold on October 9, 2020 for $19,400,000. It has 90 suites with an actual and effective year built of 2015. It has a sale price per suite of about $215,556 and a cap rate of 4.79%. The next one is located at 700 St. Mary's. It was sold on April 7, 2020 for $1,035,000. It has 9 suites with an actual and effective year built of 1961, a sale price per suite of $115,000 and a cap rate of 3.6%. The third one is located at 203 Bertrand. It was sold on June 14, 2019 for about $925,000. It has 9 suites and it has an actual year built and effective year built of 1963. It has a sale price per suite of about $102,778. It has a cap rate of 4.77%. The next one is located at 555 Corridon. It was sold on November 26, 2018 for about $1,575,000. It has 16 suites with an actual and effective year built of 1955. It has a sale price per suite of $98,438 and a cap rate of 5.74%. The next one is located at 677 Maryland. It was sold on December 15, 2020 for about $2.4 million. It has 32 suites with an actual year built of 1913 and effective age of 1972. Its sale price per suite is $75,000 and a cap rate of 5.5%. And the last one is located at 32 Arden. It was sold on March 1st, 2019 for $2,875,000. It has 23 suites and an actual year built of 1916 and an effective age or effective year built of 1984. The sale price per suite is $125,000 and the cap rate is 5.05%. On pages 9 to 15, pages 9 to 17 is where the 2020 income and expense information for the subject property is. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Henry, any questions?
Yes. Your cap rates on your from the market reports, page 7. For Colliers is 5 to 6, but the middle one, CBRE, the low rises start at low rise B starts at 5.5. Would you agree that the subject is not a low rise A or a high rise?
I have no information on what constitutes a low rise A and low rise B. However, it looks like there's just slight difference between the two for CBRE. So I'm not sure if the property falls under low rise A or low rise B.
So your subject cap rate is 4.95, so you're lower than most of these market reports.
Yes, that's correct.
And the subject is older and row housing, so it's probably fit at the high end of their ranges.
It's a model derived cap rate, so it's model determined.
So when you throw your 20th and 80th percentiles, 4.8 to 5.6, you in fact have lower cap rates than 4.8 and higher than 5.6. Is that correct?
There could be, yes, correct. The model derived cap rates, yes.
Your page 8, the individual cap rate, 2390 McPhillips. Are you aware what rent they were charging? They have there on their for their financial statements, what the level per suite is?
I don't have that information with regard to the rent. It was that cap rate was calculated by someone in our department.
Are you aware that the rents are actually were increased $200 to $300 per suite after purchase?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Some at St. Mary's, were you were the rents on the low side, and was the repair maintenance on the low side?
I have no information on that one, so I'm not sure.
And do you know whether the purchaser bought it with the intention to renovate?
I'm not sure. I don't have that information.
And 32 Arden, it sold in 2019. In 2018, there was no laundry shown, and the prior 2 years had laundry. So were you aware that it had laundry missing for the 1 year?
No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not aware of that, or I have no information on that one.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Carrie, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ian?
No questions. Thank you.
I have a question. If you look at the income and expense returns, nothing's filled out on it for all intents and purposes. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It looks like, but they submitted this one, and it has on page. Oh, I think I covered the page on page 13. There's some info on it, although it doesn't have any expenses. It has one. It only says 1 bedroom, 3 bedroom with monthly rent of about $245, $1,267. So I'm not sure of the other information.
So in your opinion, is this I&E return complete?
My opinion, it's incomplete.
Well, for example, they're listing 1 suite.
Yeah, it's not. It hasn't. It doesn't have the other suites. Although on our request for income information, it says that they submitted with an extension of July 30th, 2021.
But this is the only documents you have on file for the.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm just wondering why the deferral wasn't proceeded with.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's because I thought that they submitted on this one, Mr. Chair, and that it says on our file on my page page 3 that they did. So yeah.
Okay, that was my only question. Henry, you can proceed.
Okay, so the first page, well, we can go through that because we have the photos, etc. So we're disputing cap rate only. You know, it's a commercial row house. The assessor's report shows that also. The assessor does not refer to any row house cap rates, so they don't have any cap rates for row housing. So the first page of the photo shows the some of these buildings. They have these older buildings from 1971, and it shows the photos. And some the back photos also. Not much of a yard there in the back, but they have some parking. Some more photos. Got lots of photos. Then the maps. Page 6, we have an aerial photo of the property. So it's 3 buildings shown there. It's on David and it's at the corner of Fairlane. Then we have the aerial photo. Also the map, but then we show the Google map. So it's quite far in St. James, so it's not that far from the perimeter highway. And it's besides the mall, with the Walmart Canadian Tire there. So the income approach will be starting on page 10. That's where we have the cap rate. So the assessor is using 4.95. We're using 6.25. Based on our study, it's built in the 70s. So our cap rate for that is 5.5%. I'll have to go to my cap rate report also. And then the next page, page 11, we show the factors. So we would also consider factors to determine the risk profile of the asset. So when it's a wood frame, so it's not masonry, so it's more to repair and a lower life. It's commercial row housing with multiple buildings to maintain increased risk profile. It's social housing, no amenities. And the age is it's 50 years old. No history of economic profit on this property. Condition would be inferior. We give it a cap rate of 6.25. Then we show the reports from Colliers, CBRE, etc. So it would be in line with those. And then the income approach page 12, you'll see that we have the remarks at top right, which is the factors affecting the cap rate, and we agree with the assessor's NOI as well as EGI, etc. The only thing we dispute is the cap rate. So the appendix, page 15, we have sections on cap rates for affordable housing. We have a municipal board order from the quotes the appraisal journal says low investment grade apartments warrant a higher yield than conventional apartment properties. Then we have an order 02330 with Manitoba Housing, and the board allow for a higher cap rate. And that we have some of the quotes there highlighted, so that we have 2 decisions where the board, municipal board, allowed higher cap rates because of social housing, both Manitoba Housing properties. Yeah, page 25 shows the commercial details, the wood frame. And we have some data after that. So that would be my submission, except for cap rate. So I'd like to present my cap rate study. Open for question on this there now, or do the cap rate question on vote.
So you've submitted your Altus cap rate study separately from this brief?
Yes.
Ryan, did you get a copy of that?
I do have a copy of it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
You do? Carrie, have you got, there's appears to be Appendix A through C plus Appendix D.
Yeah, it's in two parts.
So which one are you going to go to first, Henry?
Main and Appendix A to C.
Okay, has everybody got that? Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
Okay, so
I assume that this is going to apply to the rest of the properties.
Yes, it will.
It will.
So we can jump to our page 8. It shows that what we had settled for a 2020 cycle, those particular cap rates. So this age group 1 to 5 built 1678, we had to settle at 5.5 cap rate. And then the next page is our comparable list. So we have 10 comparables. We show each one to what they are. We also show 2390 McPhillips that the assessor had, where 5%. 555 Cortland, 677 Maryland were basically in agreement. The assessor's comparables and ours are virtually the same. And then the Appendix D, the next part, it shows how we arrive at each one. So we have the CHEM approach for each one, as well as all the financial statements supporting the cap rates. I'm not going to go through it, just to know that we had all the supporting documents and all the calculations are done. Whereas the assessors' cap rates do not give any calculations as to how they arrive at our cap rates. So that's my report on cap rates.
Okay, thank you very much. Ryan, any questions?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Carrie.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Ian.
Just a question with respect to the types of buildings. Do any of the buildings in your cap rate studies, are any of them row housing?
No, I don't. Sorry, I don't have that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that was my only question.
Yes.
Okay, so that concludes 693 David Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay, the next property on the docket is 651 Cavalier Drive. Are there any preliminary issues on this one?
I have none, Mr. Chair, and I'm not pursuing the request on page 1 of my brief.
So you're withdrawing that request for non-cooperation?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. You can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. The next property has a file number of 22-1057. The property has a roll number of 07-220-715-000. It is located at 651 Cavalier Drive. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023 using reference date of April 1st, 2021. And the assessed value for the property is $5,570,000. The property is classified as a residential 2 with a liability of grant. The property is a commercial row house with 2 buildings, 2 stories, an actual and effective year built of 1972. It has 48 suites with 48 outdoor parking. It is zoned as residential multifamily. It has a land area of 142,181 square feet, a planned area of 26,797 square feet, basement area of 19,277 square feet, and a gross floor area of 72,871 square feet. And on page 2 are a couple of photos of the subject property. And on page 4 is the income valuation summary. Again, there are 48 units with an average monthly rent per unit of $1,280.21. It has a gross potential rent of $737,401, a vacancy rate of 3.2%, which is $23,597 in dollars. It has an effective gross income of $713,804. It has an expense ratio of 58.64%, or $418,575. It has a net operating income of $295,229. Using the capitalization rate of 5.3%, the capitalized income is $5,570,358. Page 5 are some of the rent comparables. The first one is located at 10 Albina Way.
Ryan, only dispute cap rate again.
Okay, so I'll proceed with the next page. Page 6 is where the map of the subject property and comparable rents. Again, on page 7 is the capitalization rates. And on page 8 to page 16 is the 2020 income and expense mailer for the subject property. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Henry, any questions?
Yeah, for row housing in the past, the assessor had a premium, I believe up to 1% premium for row housing. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I'm not aware of that, or no information on that one on my current evidence, so I'm not sure.
What? Okay, go ahead.
No, yeah, that's it. I don't have that information for this round or for this year.
And you agree that you do not have a cap rate comparable for row housing?
I do agree, yes.
That's all questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carrie, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Ian?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
And I have a question again in terms of withdrawing the request for the burden of proof to be shifted, and there is no information on these mailers as was in the previous property.
Yeah, it's the same case, Mr. Chair. There was an extension granted, and they have submitted something on July 28, 2021. Yeah, it's just this is the only information I found. So yeah, that's why I did not pursue that.
Okay, thank you very much. And Henry, you can proceed with yours.
Okay, so I have to open mine. Oops. You can go to the photos. So row housing again. So shows some of the photos, the parking, some of the yards in the back, the fences leaning. So the third photo shows some of the parking they have in the back of the buildings. Then the maps would be page 8, the aerial photo. That was also in Ryan's report. So we have also an aerial photo and a map showing also where it is. It's close to the shopping center again, the Walmart and Canadian Tire, and it's getting close to the perimeter. So it's far West St. James. To the income approach, so we start with the cap rate. So the assessor is 5.3. That's what my report says. I just want to make sure didn't make the mistake. It's 5.3 on this one, a bit higher than the previous one. We're using 6.25, and we have the same evidence, and then we show the risk profile. So the same thing, wood frame, row housing, social housing. 1972 is very similar to the previous one. So we're doing 6.25 cap rate on that. And then the income approach itself is page 14. And so we don't dispute the rents and the NOI, we dispute cap rate only. So the value at 6.25 cap is 4,724,000. That's my submission.
Thank you. And Ryan, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Carrie.
Just one question. Henry, did you have a chance to inspect this property?
No, I did not.
Thank you. That's all my question.
And
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So that concludes 651 Cavalier. The next one on the docket is right in the same area, 652 Cavalier. Any preliminary issues on this one? Either party?
None for me, Mr. Chair.
No, not for me.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next property has a file number of 22-1523. It has a roll number of 07432414000. It is located at 652 Cavalier Drive. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023, using reference date of April 1st, 2021. The assessed value for the property is $694,000. It is classified as a residential 2 with the liability of taxable. The property is a commercial row house with one building, one story, an actual and effective year built of 1963. It has 6 suites with 6 outdoor parking. It is zoned as residential multifamily. It has a land area of 16,492 square feet, land area of 4,896 square feet, a basement area of 4,896 square feet, a gross floor area of 9,792 square feet. On page 3 is the aerial photo of the subject property. And on page 4 is the income valuation summary. Again, there are 6 units. The average monthly rent per unit is $973.22. Excuse me. The gross potential rent is $70,072. The vacancy rate is 3.2%, or $2,242. The effective gross income is $67,830. The expense ratio is 48.31%, or $32,768. Operating income is $35,061 using the capitalization rate of 5.05%. The capitalized income is $694,277. Again, on page 5 is the rent comparables. There are 4. One is located at 10 Albino Way. It has an average monthly rent of $1,576. Second page, rent comparable, is located at 1415 Rothsay Street. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,243. The third one is located at 85 Maple Ridge Avenue. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,391. And the last one is located at 30 Baylor Avenue. And the average monthly rent per unit is $1,230. The next page has the map of the subject property and the comparable rents. Page 7 has the capitalization rates chart. And page 8 has the capitalization rate evidence. from pages 9 till page 14 is the income and expense mailer for the subject property for the year 2020. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Henry, any questions?
Your rent comparables, I can find them now.
Rent comparables, page 5.
Oh, sorry. I went and opened another file. So page, I lost it. There it is. No, that's, sorry, it's mine. Okay, Albina, so are you aware whether this property has a basement or not?
I'm not aware of any basement or anything, so I'm not sure if there are.
So the subject area you put gross floor area 1518, that would include the basement, is that correct?
I haven't inspected the property, so I'm not sure if it calculates or that is a calculation including basement.
Right, because it's basement 4896, the plan area is 4896.
Mm-hmm.
So the average is 800 square feet, close to 800 square feet per suite.
Mm.
And your comparables would be larger than the subject.
Comparables, without knowing if it's if the gross floor area of the subject property of 1500, well, if it has if it includes basement, then the gross floor area of the rent comparables would be similar in a way, them at least.
No, the first comparable is operated by Rancho. Would you agree that they spend a lot of money in repair maintenance on that particular property?
The information is not included in my evidence, so I'm not sure. I don't know.
And comparable 3 and 4 are LACO properties, so you would agree that also the repair maintenance is relatively high and those properties are very well kept?
I wouldn't be aware of any of those, no.
What's the suite mix for a subject? 2 bedrooms?
2 bedroom units.
And,
2 bedroom units, yes.
3 of your comparables have some 3 bedroom units in there.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
Would you agree that they would be superior rent because they have 3 bedrooms?
It looks like the ones with the 3 bedrooms are the two out of the 3 with the 3 bedroom units are over or above the average monthly rent per unit of the subject property.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Carrie, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Ian?
No, thank you. No questions.
Thank you.
I have one. So on page 4, you're showing the average monthly rent per unit for the subject to be $973.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
And on page 5, you're showing the average monthly rent for the subject to be $1,280.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. I'm not sure how the rent comparables are on page 5 is appearing to be $1,280, but on page 4 is it's only $973.
So then the $1,280 is not correct?
No, that's not. It's the 973.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. And Henry, you can proceed with your presentation.
Yeah, so the first page would be the photo, the property. You see the basement, got the little window there. And then we have the aerial map of that. And you can go to the cap rate section. Well, yeah, we have another aerial map also. Page 7, aerial photo, and the map itself capitalized the same area as the previous two properties. So the cap rate, page 12. So the subject, the factors we have show it's a wood frame, single roof, 1 story. So the type of properties that don't last as long, and the more repair maintenance. They have virtually no amenities. 1963, that's built. So that's 58 years old. Low historical repair maintenance. Small, 816 square feet for 2 bedrooms. So the average size, excluding the basement, 816. So we give it a cap rate of 6%. The cap rate for that age group that we have is 5.5. Then the income approach itself, page 14. So we show the financial statements is 652 and 656 Cavalier combined. So then we stabilize the rents, line 3 at the actual 2020. That's including the vacancy. Sussex does not show vacancy, so we're stabilizing at whatever vacancy it has. And then line 13 shows we're stabilizing 123, but we show what the half is in the next column. So we're at 61,575 versus the assessor at 67. So we have a lower rent, actual rent, than the assessor. And the line 3, the average rent is $855 per suite, and the assessor's got $973. So he's certainly not at $1,280; it's $973. We stabilize each individual item for expenses as per normal parameters. We go the last year or 2020 for the insurance, utilities, and taxes, and then some items we the average. And the repair and maintenance is stabilized at $1,269, and that's shown separately. I'll get that to that later. So I believe, yeah, that's the rest of the expenses there shown. So the next page 15, shows the repair and maintenance. We showed a detail for each individual item. The flooring replacement is shown there. We stabilized at $1,523, the average, which is relatively low, $127 versus a maximum that we allow is $400. Our maximum are based on the replacement at every 8 years, and the average cost of flooring and appliances. And so the flooring and appliance replacement is on the low side, but that's what we stabilize. We stabilize at site specific, same as painting, $163, and the maximum we allow is usually $200. Counters and cupboards we allow $250, and they have none, so they haven't replaced any for a while. Other items we replace stabilize at the 5-year average. So the actual total is $1,269 average. There's no items that we disallow. Waste and snow is allowed separately. So if you go back to the previous page, our expenses are $50,000 overall for both, which would be $25,000, which would be less than the assessor. Our expense ratio is 40.9%. The assessors are 48%. So we're less expensive than the assessor, but we're on site specific. It has relatively low rents, I believe, because it has relatively low repair maintenance, so the two are matching. So our line 33A, we stabilize 652 Cavalier at half. of the stabilized. So we're at 36,397. So we're about 1,300 higher than the assessor. So in the end, it's a cap rate dispute only. So if we apply the 6% cap rate, we get the value 606. The negative factors are shown on top of the right-hand top of the page, which were shown previously in the report. There's a wood frame and it's the row housing in a small 2 bedrooms, small suites, 1 story. So low historical repair maintenance, so it's not that well maintained. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Ryan, any questions?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie.
Just one question, Henry. On page 12 of your brief, under the supply and demand, you've got it highlighted. You stated the Winnipeg multifamily inventory appears to have been saturated with used supply as of the reference date, accelerating the obsolescence of Winnipeg's older multifamily stock. And I'm just wondering, do you have any evidence to substantiate that statement?
Maybe I allude to it in the cap rate study and have to. It's general knowledge. It's a lot of apartments popping up all over the place. That's putting pressure on the apartments of the lower range. And so we will. I guess it's a general statement at this point in time without that much support.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian.
I have a couple questions with respect to your report. Again, I'm looking at page 13 on your capitalization rates. Under capitalization rate, the heading, you say you're accepting the assessor's capitalization rate of 6.25% based on the rate shown in Appendix Altus 2023 cap rate study for apartments. I've been through that. I don't see any assessor's cap. That's a typo, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's a typo. I'm sorry.
Okay, good. I'm just save me some looking next time I see the report, I guess.
Yeah.
The other question I have is on your page 15, the study or the spreadsheet in which you've combined both 652 and 656 Cavalier. You've got at the bottom of that page, just above the assessed value, you have a mainly cap dispute and a 0.25% premium for negative factor. What is that 0.25% negative factor? I'm assuming that relates to the cap rate, but I'm not sure what the negative factor is.
Oh, it's shown at the top right, row house, wood frame, shingle roof, washer and dryer. And I believe that's a typo again. The cap rate for this age group is 5.5, so the premium is actually 0.5%. I guess I have a few typos here. Sorry.
Several typos. Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you very much. Carrying on typos.
Okay.
Page 2, you've got a requested assessment of 606,000, and on page 15 you have 607,000.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it rounds up to 607. Yeah.
Oh, so 606 is not correct.
That's right. In the last page it says 607, and that's all. It's a rounding error. Yeah.
Okay. That was my only question. The next property on the docket is 656 Cavalier. And I take it this is the same information as we've just heard for 652?
Yes, that's basically the same. for me, and I don't know if it's the same for Ryan.
Ryan, is it the same?
It's a different property, but I believe we have the same info. 694,000 is our assessment value.
Okay, for the record,
And I do have
read it in.
I do have the same rent comparables as well. So, okay, I could read in, Mr. Chair, page 1.
Read in just page 1 and summarize your income approach, and you don't have to go into comparisons.
Okay, sounds good, Mr. Chair. So the next property has a file number of 22-1524. The roll number for the property is 07432415000. It is located at 656 Cavalier Drive. We are dealing with the roll year of 2023. Using reference date of April 1st, 2021, the assessed value is $694,000. Property is classified as a residential 2 with the liability of taxable. The property is a commercial row house with 1 building, 1 story, an actual and effective year built of 1963, has 6 suites with 6 outdoor parking. It is zoned as a residential multifamily with the land area of 15,852 square feet, a plan area of 4,896 square feet, a basement area of 4,896 square feet, and a gross floor area of 9,792 square feet. And the income valuation summary is on page 4. Again, it has 6 units with an average monthly rent per unit of $973.22. Has a gross potential rent of $70,072. Has a vacancy rate of 3.2% or $2,242. Has an effective gross income of $67,830. It's an expense ratio of 48.31% or $32,769. The net operating income is $35,061. Using the capitalization rate of 5.05%, the capitalized income is $694,277. And that's the presentation for this property, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Henry, any questions?
No questions.
Carrie.
No questions, thank you.
Ian.
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So, Henry, you can proceed with your presentation.
It's basically the same as 652. Same typos also. So I'll admit to that. Same valuation. So that's my report. That's basically the same as the other one.
Ryan, any questions of Henry?
Same thing, no questions, Mr. Chair.
And Carrie.
I have no questions.
And Ian.
None for me. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So that concludes that property.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, could we take a 5-minute?
Certainly. We'll take a 5-minute recess. 5-minute recess. Thank you. We'll reconvene the hearing this morning. And the next property is 660 Cavalier. Any preliminary issues on this one?
None for me, Mr. Chair.
Not for me. None.
Okay, Ryan, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next property has a file number of 22-1525. It has a roll number of 07432416000. It is located at 660 Cavalier Drive. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023 using reference date of April 1st, 2021. The property has split assessment. The first assessment has an assessed value of $694,000, classified as a residential 2 with a liability of taxable. The second assessment has an assessed value of $555,000 with a classification of residential 1 with a liability of taxable. The property is a commercial row house with 2 buildings, 1 story, an effective and actual year built of 1964. It has 9 suites and 9 outdoor parking. It has a zoning of residential multifamily. The land area for the property is 23,409 square feet. The planned area is 7,293 square feet, and the gross floor area is 7,293 square feet. On page 3 is the aerial photo of the subject property. And on page 4 is the income valuation summary. Again, there are 9 units with an average monthly rent per unit of $1,040.73. As mentioned earlier, there are 2 split assessments on this one. The first one has a gross potential rent of $49,955, a vacancy rate of 3.2%, or $1,599. The effective gross income is $48,356, and expense ratio is 42.61%, or $20,604. The net operating income for the property is $27,752. Applying the capitalization rate of 5%, the capitalized income is $555,040. The second assessment has a gross potential rent of $62,444, vacancy rate of 3.2%, or $1,998. Effective gross income is $60,446. The expense ratio is 42.61%, or $25,756. And the net operating income is $34,690. Applying again the capitalization rate of 5%, the capitalized income is $693,800. Page 5 are rent comparables. Again, the first one is located at 10 Albina Way. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,576. The next one is located at 1415 Rothsay Street. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,243. The third one is located at 85 Maple Ridge Avenue, has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,391. And the last one is located at 30 Baylor Avenue, has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,230. Next page, page 6, has the map of the subject property and the comparable rents. Page 7 are the capitalization rates chart, and page 8 is the capitalization rate evidence. Beginning page 9 to page 13 is the 2020 income and expense information for the subject property. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Henry, any questions?
Yeah, so your rental page 5. So you do show subject as 810 square feet per unit, and all your comparables are larger.
Yes, they are larger.
They would be superior, and their rents are quite higher. Like buying a first one is 50% higher. The average rent that you have is $10.40. Now, is there any particular comparable there? The 4 that is more comparable than the others?
These are just the comparables that I found that are almost, I would say it's not a perfect set of comparables, but these are just the row housing that I found around the city.
Now, would you agree that comparable number 1 managed by Rancho and 3 and 4 managed by LATCO would have much higher repair maintenance and would be much better condition?
Without seeing the properties or the comparables and the financials, I wouldn't be able to answer the question.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Ian.
I'm just looking at this property in relation to the property next door, and I see that this one does not have any basement area allocated. Are you aware if there's basements here, or is this are there no basements here?
Based on the information we have on file, it has no basement.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you.
And I have no questions. So Henry, you can proceed.
So the beginning reports will have the photos. I believe if you look at the photos, they don't show any windows for the basement, so it appears to be no basement. So they're older type townhouses. Aerial photos are shown later on, and the map, the Google map, shows same area as the previous ones we had here today. So if you can go to the cap rate section, to page 13. Make sure that I'm right. There's no typos. I have to check the assessor. The assessor is at 5% cap rate. Okay. And we're using 6%. It's built in 1964, so the Altus cap rate would be 5.5 for this age group, but we add site-specific factors shown there: the wood frame, single roof, no amenities. It does have ensuite washer and dryer, low historical repair maintenance, a small size for 2 bedrooms, and oversupply of apartments for new apartments. 6%, so would be 0.5% premium. So the income approach spreadsheet is page 16. Yeah, so now I do show the negative factors on top, and I show the cap rate at the bottom. It's 0.5% premium, so no typos there. When we stabilize line 33, we have a slightly higher NOI than the city. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but we do have lower rents to start with. Line 3, the vacancy is included, whatever it is. Line 13, we're 101,000, the assessor is 108. But when we go to stabilize expenses, line 32, we have less expenses than the assessor. Repair maintenance is $1,113. Page 17, we have the breakdown the repair maintenance. So the one item in red that we disallowed is the plumbing in the middle of 2018, 12,000. The rest of the years were lower. So we averaged that excluding the high year. So there you see the flooring and appliance replacement and the painting are lower than the maximum, so they're on the low side. So previous page, when you apply the cap rate, we get a value of 1,074 versus the assessor 1,278. So that would be my report.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions?
I have none, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Carrie.
Just one question, Henry. Overall, all your properties, you didn't have a chance to inspect any of them, correct?
No, I did not.
Okay, thank you.
And Ian.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
And just to confirm, Henry, you're looking at $1,074,000.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. So that brings us to the last property on the docket today, 795 Sturgeon Road. Any preliminary issues, either party?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Henry, any preliminary issues?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, Ryan, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last property on the docket has a file number of 22-3009. It has a roll number of 07071 439,000. It is located at 795 Sturgeon Road. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023 using reference date of April 1st, 2021. The assessed value is $4,669,000. Classification is residential 1 with the taxable liability. The property is a commercial row house with 1 building, 2 stories, an actual year built of 1967 and an effective year built of 1977. It has 20 suites with 40 outdoor parking. It is zoned as a residential 2-family. Has a land area of 41,004 square feet at 13,000 or planned area of 13,650 square feet, a gross floor area of 27,300 square feet. And on page 3 is the aerial photo of the subject property. On page 4 is the income valuation summary. There are 20 units with an average monthly rent per unit of $1,637.95. The gross potential rent is $393,108. It has a vacancy rate of 3.2% or $12,579. It has an effective gross income of $380,529. The expense ratio is 39.27% or $149,434. The net operating income is $231,095. Applying the capitalization rate of 4.95%, the capitalized income is $4,668,586. On page 5 are the rent comparables. First one, again, is located at 10 Albina Way. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,576. The second one is located at 1415 Rothsay Street. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,243. Third one is located at 85 Maple Ridge Avenue. It has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,391. And the last one is located at 30 Baylor Avenue. Has an average monthly rent per unit of $1,230. And on page 6 is the map of the subject property and comparable rents. Page 7 is the capitalization rate chart. On page 8 is the capitalization rate evidence. And beginning of page 9 down to page 12 is where the 2020 income and expense mailer for the subject property is. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Henry, any questions?
On your rent comparables.
Okay.
So now the subject is higher than all your comparables, substantially higher. Why would that be?
It's a model-derived average monthly rent or per unit. So could be any factors which may include gross floor area per unit or something else. Yeah, it's a model-derived average monthly rent per unit.
So meaning your comparables do not support your model-derived rents? Is that what you're saying?
And I'm looking at just a mix, bedroom unit mix. It seems that nothing below 2-bedroom units for the subject property that's pulling it down. So it's pulling it up because of the 3 and 4 bedroom unit mix for the subject property. Unlike the others that have 2-bedroom units or even 1-bedroom unit that pull down the average rent per unit.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie, any questions?
No questions.
Ian?
Thank you.
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So Henry, you can start with your presentation.
Hey, start the photo. So I'm asking 2,000,009 from 4,000,006. Start the photo. First photo indicates some renovations there. So they have some. The top is this is new and they have some brick wall, I believe. So they have some wood on the side of the patio, which is more high maintenance. And the second photo shows the areas in between the buildings. There again, these are patios in between. The other photo from the front, photos from the back. Then the next page, the aerial photo, it's along Sturgeon. So the buildings are all in a row. And in between, you see there's no greenery. So that's more all patio. And the back, they have the parking. And the front, there's a little lawn facing the street. You can go to the cap rate. Well, no, the aerial photo is shown there after that. So it's on Sturgeon, and then it shows the aerial map. It shows the 5 buildings in a row with the parking in the back. And then the Google map shows it's near Ness. And just north of the Grace Hospital. Now we can go to the cap rate. I believe there's a typo there already. On top, says we're accepting the assessor cap rate 6.25. This is wrong because the assessor's at 4.95. So we're not accepting their cap rate. So the property, the assessor's report shows it was built 1967. The effective age is 1977. So the assessor has added 10 years to its life. And it's likely due to the fact it was renovated in 2013. So there under our comments, so the base rate for the subject would be 5.5 as per our cap rate study. There are comments. It's still a row housing, wood frame, shingle roof, 2 stories, virtually no amenities. Has ensuite washer and dryer. Is renovated in 2013, causing low R&M after. So the low historical repair maintenance risk of an increase, so that we stabilize based on the historical repair maintenance, but knowing it's on the low side, so that somebody buying would know that they would have to increase repair maintenance over time, because in 2013 to 2021 is 8 years, and that's when most of the appliances in the carpeting or carpeting flooring starts to need to be replaced. So we had 0.5% for factors. Now the income approach, that's a rotate. So we showed the income that it has. They had 2017 to 19, it had some discounts, line 1, but that includes the caretaker, part is caretaker. So they're pushing the rents. The line 9, actual laundry income for 2020, that's incorrect per se, because line 10, it says included in line 9. So it's basically laundry and parking shown under the Sussex statement. So I should have put that into line 10 to make it less confusing. So there's no laundry income, but it's laundry and other income. Anyways, we stabilized that income the last year, which is on the high side. And perhaps if I would have put it in line 10, I would have used the average instead. So late now, I used a higher one. So line 13, we're at 368 and stabilized versus the assessor 380 and the prior 2 years actual at 363, 369. Then the expenses, we stabilized pretty much normal. The insurance and the utilities are the last year, most current year, as well as the taxes. The repair maintenance line 27, we have that the next page, page 16. So you can see under flooring replacement, they have none for those years. So therefore, it's something to be expected. So the fact that it's 8 years since renovation, that's why it's so low. The appliance replacement is only $11 per suite, and whereas the maximum is usually $225. There, it's also very low. Painting is only $16 per suite, also very low. Counters and cupboards $1, very low. Electrical, very low. So the renovated in 2013. Then after that, they did very little in the normal repair maintenance because these items will last up to 8 years. A lot of these items. So if you study the repair maintenance, we will stabilize those low averages. We go site specific instead of adding. It's a normal for flooring and normal for appliance. We'll capture that in the cap rate. So that's one or the other. We could have added appliance replacement and flooring at 500 and 225 per suite. And knowing we're due to start now. But I did that in the cap rate instead. So we stabilized repair maintenance at the 4-year average, which is 1105 per suite. So bottom remarks, very low R&M likely due to renovation 2013 is expected to increase. So back to the previous page. So we do stabilize at the actual 5-year repair maintenance, but they have some very low normal turnover repair maintenance, the suite, the flooring, the painting, the appliances, which will be coming up. So therefore, we captured that in the 0.5% premium that we have. So that comes to $2,976,000 is the value. We have those comments on the remarks about the R&M also. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Ryan, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Carrie?
I have no questions.
Ian?
No questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So we have heard all the items scheduled today, and this hearing is now adjourned.